This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remus.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson with you, along with Conor Hrabchak today. And man, I'm really excited about this weekend and really excited about today's show. It is Friday, and although Remo is away, don't worry. We will have a marble race. That's happening later on. Shout out to our guy, Andrew Z, who's doing a killer job taking care of business while Remo's away. So we will have that a little later on. And of course, in the middle of NFL season, before we get to the cool bet lines in the marble race, we'll touch base with the one and only Lee Hacksaw Hamilton going into a pretty awesome lineup of games in the National Football League this weekend. But it's a huge weekend for the Winnipeg Jets. Tonight is Connor Hellebuyck night. 5,000 fans, the first 5,000 are going to receive a special Connor Hellebuyck pennant tonight when you come in. The Vezina Trophy and the Jennings trophies are going to be on display. You'll be able to see those. And not only will we be able to celebrate Connor Hellebuyck, but hopefully see him get his fourth win of the season as the Jets take on the San Jose Sharks. One other interesting little wrinkle tonight is the Canada Life Center is going to welcome in their 20 millionth fan tonight. Norva Riddell from True North and the Jets is actually going to pop by. We'll talk a little bit about that in this weekend, as well as just get a little update on how the summer went for the club as they continue to, make up on some lost ground over the years and looking to put some more butts in the seats. So we're going to do that with Norva. But the highlight of the program, in addition to Connor being with me for the duration of the show, is going to be Winnipeg Jet fan favorite Bryan Little. But the focus of the game outside of Jets versus Penguins and Sidney Crosby's visit of the year is going to be on Bryan Little. And he's going to join us for an extended conversation later on. I think you're all really going to love it. While we're talking about the weekend, though, before I bring Connor in, if you've been listening in the last little while, you know that our first WST game of the month is Sunday. Now, as part of the WST package, you get a beverage. You can grab a beer with all of us at the beginning. We'll be gathering. If you're getting to the game, pop by a little early. 1 o'clock, the doors open. Myself, maybe Conor, I think Liz is going to pop by as well. We'll all be up in the 316, the bar just outside section 316. If you're with us last year, you know where we're at. But even if you're in the lower bowl for the game, pop by, come upstairs at the beginning and hang out with the crew. But here's the thing. If you don't have your tickets yet for the WST game, you've got, as we go live right now at 1 o'clock, you've got basically 2 hours to make it happen. So if you're thinking about going to the game and you haven't done it yet, I'll put it, or Connor, if you want to, just throw it up in the chat and pin it. WinnipegJets.com/WST. And grab your tickets for it, because at the end of the show, that'll be closed off because they need to upload the vouchers to everyone's Jets 360 app. And listen, it worked out so well last year. Very, very easy. I'm sure most of you already have the app and you're working with it. But again, WinnipegJets.com/WST. Click on it, grab a few buddies, come up and join us, and should be a really, really fun afternoon celebrating Bryan Little and obviously getting the opportunity to see the Jets take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hopefully at 4-0 if they can get the job done tonight against the San Jose Sharks, who lost last night to the Chicago Blackhawks 4-2 and had to travel late coming in. The Sunday's game is one of 6 games of the month. If you're with us right now, you can see the schedule. We got the Stanley Cup champion Panthers coming in November. What will I think be somewhat of a WST holiday party Saturday night, December 21st against the Wild. Thursday night game against the Seattle Kraken on the 16th of January, and then 2 Friday games to round out our schedule. The 7th of February against the New York Islanders, and the final game of the schedule, the 28th of March against the New Jersey Devils. So you can pick those up right now. But if you're thinking about coming this Sunday to the game, jump on that during the program, because at the end of WST, just after 3, that'll be cut off. But we would love to have you join us, and it should be a heck of a lot of fun. And obviously, I think Bryan Little being such a special person to so many Winnipeg Jet fans, and a little extra incentive to come out and be in attendance for what should be a heck of a hockey game. Just before we bring in Conor, do want to, again, winnipegjets.com/WST for tickets. Let's see you guys out there with us on Sunday. Big thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. We do have a new edition of CFL 110 out. We did that after Wednesday's show. It is up on the YouTube channel right now. It is brought to you by Garage Living Winnipeg. Also want to thank the other great sponsors of WST, Princess Auto, Coolbet Canada. Just had a fun lock shop with Jake, making all our picks for the week 7 of the NFL Best Bets. You can check that on the Edmonton Sports Talk channel. Of course, our friends at Rolly's Transfer, Consolidated Supply, Manitoba Battery, fansfirst.ca. We'll be talking Connor Hellebuyck in the fan feedback segment coming up in a little bit. Canadian Club, Wallace & Wallace, the Winnipeg Jets, F Apparel, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza. We'll get to a why not question of the day as well for our friends at Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. We will hear from Coach Scott Arneil, a little bit of Josh Morrissey as well. And then a little later on today, an extended conversation with the special guest coming back to the Peg on Sunday to sign a one-day contract to retire a Jet, none other than Bryan Little. Let us welcome in the host of WST Sunday Live, our guy, Conor Hrabchak. What's good, buddy? Great to have you back on the program.
It's great to be back on the program. I've been holding down the fort, keeping Jacob and Liz in check over there on WST Sunday Live. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. We've done 4 editions so far, and it's been an absolute blast. And now that we have actual games to talk about, it's just getting more and more fun as we go along. But yeah, what a weekend. I mean, tonight, Connor Hellebuyck night, Bryan Little. We don't get to see Rutger McGroarty, but like you said, I still think there will be some chants from the stands. So
His presence
I'm super
will be
fired
missed
up this weekend. Yeah.
And you know what? And just on that, gang, if you haven't already joined Conor, Jacob, and Liz on Sunday mornings, this is a great weekend to do it. I mean, we'll have the Friday game to talk about. Certainly, I know you guys will be talking Bryan Little, and listen, the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby. I mean, that's hockey royalty right there. He comes into town one time a year. This is the game. So 9 a.m. on Sunday, or if you want to sleep in a little bit, you can pop in and catch it, not quite live, but make a point of doing that. Of course, last week, because of the high holidays, the IC guys moved their show. We did it a little later on at 11, but normally, and you can set a reminder in your calendar if you want, 9 bells, Sunday morning, WST Sunday Live with Conor, with Liz, with Jacob. And I got to tell you, it has been awesome. I mean, and it gets better. You guys get more comfortable with each other each and every show. And it's a must-watch part of my Sunday routine as I check that out and then go through all of my fantasy lineups and bets for the NFL. And of course, big day. We'll be doing that and then ripping down to the game for tonight. Now, as far as tonight's game goes, and I guess we'll hear from Scott Arneil in a minute. This is a big chance for the Jets. And I looked at the schedule, Conor, and knowing that they were able to get that big win in Edmonton in the first game of the season, and then kind of grind out 4 points against Chicago and Minnesota with a couple thrilling OT wins. The games themselves, maybe not as thrilling. Certainly the ends were. But a long week of practice for the Jets. You've been around there this week. This team, I think, very much looking forward to getting back on the ice to try to build off of what they were able to do in the standings in those first 3 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I share that same sentiment that after that first game against Edmonton, you look at the schedule coming up and you go, okay, the Jets have a really good chance to bank some points here against some lesser competition or teams that were at least lower in the standings last season. And that's without even mentioning the starts that Nashville and Colorado have each at 0-4 now in the Central Division. So the Jets have a massive opportunity this weekend to not only win tonight against the San Jose Sharks, And again, if you're the players, you don't want to get ahead of yourselves, but we are not the players. So we can talk ahead of ourselves and say Sunday as well against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Another team that missed the playoffs last year has really struggled, especially defensively, goaltending through the first couple games here. So this is a big chance to really get off on the right foot and what if Colorado loses tonight to Anaheim and then you go 4-0 and make yourself 5-0 over the weekend? This is an opportunity to be up 10 points in the standings, and we're not even in the last week of October yet. So that's just a massive advantage to start the season like that. And the Jets are definitely focused. I know a lot of the players this week, we were talking to them, wanted a game on that Tuesday or Wednesday or something, could have thrown a game in there, the bye week, if you want to call it. But I think that full week of practice will help them. They're focused and they know the task at hand this weekend.
Well, and listen, I mean, kind of the topics we've been kicking around all week. I mean, there's been a lot of things that we all expected and we're hoping that we'd see improvement in the Winnipeg Jets this year, namely special teams. And we've seen it so far. A perfect penalty kill, a power play that has contributed on a couple of occasions, and a power play that's just looked night and day to kind of the stagnant group that we saw last year. The one thing that hasn't been, at least in the last two games at home, as illustrious is really the 5-on-5 play, or at least the 5-on-5 production. I mean, I don't think there's any question the Winnipeg Jets have been excellent defensively, helping out their all-star goaltender put up the incredible numbers that he has going into Connor Hellebuyck night to night. But I don't think there's any doubt, especially against an opponent like the San Jose Sharks, Connor, this is a night that you'd love to see. I mean, especially if there's one line that could pop, it's the Ehlers, Perfetti, Nemetsnikov line that I think everyone would see. But I would say the same thing about the top line as well. While Scheifele and Conor have been front and center, winning games, tying games at 6-on-5, and obviously at 3-on-3, a nice performance by that line of 5-on-5. Gabriel Velarde potentially getting in on the score sheet, I think would be great. We know what we're getting from Adam Lowry's line, and I think the fourth line's really contributed so far. And you'd love to be in a situation where Arneil can really run with the four lines. But man, it would be nice to get some good things going with that top six, if you will. Although we all know that Adam Lowry's line is in the top six. We'll just call it the top 9. How about that? When we drop the puck tonight.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And this weekend, like, San Jose is a bad team. They were bad last year. They're still rebuilding. They're not out of that rebuilding stage yet. And Pittsburgh, while they were around the playoff line last year, they're not great defensively. So not only is this a chance for the Jets to kind of bake some points in the standings early here, but get that 5-on-5 offense rolling, because it really hasn't been there. The Scheifele line, like you said, Mark Scheifele, 6 points through the first 4 games, or through the first couple games here, but they haven't scored a 5-on-5 goal yet. It's been 4-on-3 in overtime. Even that goal at the end of the first period off the faceoff wasn't 5-on-5. Technically, it was a 6-on-5 because Hellebuyck was pulled. And then the game before that as well. So it's been really interesting outside of that Edmonton game to watch the offense kind of struggle through those first 2 games. But I think all eyes are on, I'm going to call it the top 6 as well, of the Scheifele line and the Nemetsnikov line. Especially Ehlers had a great quote today on his line and how they need to get going as well. So great opportunity this weekend for some 5-on-5 offense, because not only are they not scoring at 5-on-5, but they're not generating. I tweeted a stat the other day that they're 32nd in expected goals, which is last, by the way, in expected goals per 60. So they got to generate more offense, and the goals will come off of that, but this is the weekend to do it.
Yeah, it's been low event. Like, don't mistake this for the fact that, like, they haven't been in the offensive zone and they've been getting caved in. I mean, that hasn't been the case at all. Their defensive metrics are right up near the top of the league. For sure. It's just there hasn't been a lot going on at times. And I mean, listen, from a coaching standpoint, you're probably loving that. You know that how talented these players are. The goals will come. But the foundation of the Winnipeg Jets, built under Rick Bowness for the last couple of years, has been strong defensive hockey. And that's certainly what they've done so far. Like, Conor, I was mentioning earlier, and I'm sure you would agree, the 2 goals that the Jets have actually let in this season are ones that Connor Hellebuyck never lets in. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, considering the saves that he's made, that we could be sitting here talking about a goose egg through the first 3. We're not. But listen, these numbers, as we get into a little talk about Connor Hellebuyck, as he'll be feted tonight, a .976 save percentage, 3 wins, a 0.66 goals against average, 1 shutout, and only 2 goals against in over 180 minutes. I I kind of think the best thing that could have possibly happened might have been him getting lit up with the snowman in Minnesota in those 2 periods in the preseason. Because if that's not just somewhat of a wake-up call, okay, we're here, not that Conor needed one, right. He's been absolutely brilliant. He has been the guy that was there for the Jets all last season, winning the Vezina Trophy. He started this season maybe as well as he started any of his all-star campaigns here in the National Hockey League.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's hilarious to think about, because that goal against Minnesota, you sit there and you go, oh, Conor Hellebuyck probably should have had that one, but he has a .976 save percentage and a 0.66 goals against average. So we're not complaining here, of course, but the goals have been the 2 that he's let in have been weird. And that's just also a testament to the Jets defensive system. There has been really good chances that Conor Hellebuyck has had to stop, but not an overwhelming amount that we saw maybe in the back half of last year. They had that 34 game streak of 3 goals or less. After that, they maybe tailed off a little bit in that defensive structure. So to see that return in the first week here, really, really great. And I just see all these goaltender contracts being handed out around the league. Most recently, Jake Oettinger getting 8 years, 8.25. And I just think to myself, what if Conor Hellebuyck was a free agent last summer instead of the summer before, and the Jets weren't able to, go 7 years, 8.5 million, which is looking like a steal every single day, because Jake Oettinger is nowhere near the realm of Conor Hellebuyck. I'm sorry, but he's getting paid just $250,000 less over the next 8 years. So I'm glad the Jets were able to sign him long-term when they did at the dollar they did, because I think if Conor Hellebuyck was a free agent right now, he'd be asking for Igor Shesterkin money, and he will have earned it at this point. So this contract's looking good, and it's just year 1.
No, I mean, listen, and this is, I think, part of the conversation this weekend. Welcoming back Bryan Little, who played his entire NHL career with the franchise. Obviously, he was traded as, waived his no trade to move to Arizona to allow the Jets to, some cap flexibility. But as far as playing in the National Hockey League, it was 3 years with the Thrashers and the rest with the Winnipeg Jets. And Conor Hellebuyck is on a path to playing his entire career here in Winnipeg. And to be honest, not only play here his entire career in Winnipeg, but finish up going into the Hockey Hall of Fame. I was looking at some of the goalies that have been in, and goalies, I think overall, Conor, when we talk about the Hall of Fame, are frankly somewhat underrepresented. We've seen some more come in the last few years. I mean, Mike Vernon, Henrik Lundqvist, and Tom Barrasso all got in 2023. Luongo got in 2022. Obviously, Kim St. Pierre, one of the greatest female goaltenders of all time, was in 2020. But before that, I mean, Brodeur in 2018, Rogie Vachon in 16, Hasek, Belfour, Roy, Feuer. Those are the only goaltenders in the Hockey Hall of Fame past 2000. Now, I'd have to go in and see how many of those goaltenders had multiple Vezina trophies. I mean, that's a short list. And listen, there's so much more hockey to be played for Conor, but he's over the 500 games. He's approaching 300 wins. He's not only has he won 2 Vezinas, he's also been a finalist on the other side. Now, from his perspective, and he said this, it's about winning. And, obviously the playoffs have been disappointing for Conor and the team the last couple seasons. But the legacy that he's already created has him amongst the greatest Jets of all time. And I don't think there's any debate for that. But seeing the way he's playing right now, knowing how much runway there left is to write the story, he's, I don't want to say a lock or a shoo-in, but I think we need to appreciate right now that we are watching one of the great players, not just goaltenders, of the generation, and a guy that would be looked back at in the same way. I think at one point, we look back at Dale Hrabchak. I would even say guys like Solani, but Solani was here for a short period of time. I mean, this is projecting out to potentially be more than 15 seasons of Conor Hellebuyck doing his job as well as anybody in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, and it takes me back a few years as well, where the debate was always Hellebuyck versus Vasilevsky for who's the better goaltender in the NHL. And Vasilevsky had the cups, or he won the cups with Tampa Bay, which always kind of gives him the edge. But statistically, Connor Hellebuyck's been the better goaltender than Vasilevsky over his career. Vasilevsky's just more clutch. He plays amazing in game sevens. Obviously, he has the Stanley Cups, but he's right up there in that company. And I think one more long playoff run, or one more really good statistical playoff run, could really help Connor Hellebuyck because of what happened last year in the playoffs. And we've talked a lot about that 5-game sample and what happened to the Winnipeg Jets defense, let alone Connor Hellebuyck. But I think the 2-time Vezina, if he's able to win another Vezina, he's definitely a lock. If he's able to go on another deep playoff run and play well doing it, I think he's a lock. And yeah, he's going to be a career like 918 save percentage goalie or somewhere in that range. Like, that's just unheard of. Playing his whole career in Winnipeg, like you said, 15 years of just goaltender dominance. And I think myself included, we do kind of take it for granted on a day-to-day basis, just how solid he is and how many maybe deficiencies he's covered up over the years for the Winnipeg Jets, because he is the best goaltender in the league. He was last year. He is right now. And it's such a pleasure to watch him and celebrate him on a night like tonight.
Well, absolutely. And I'll say this, he's got a legendary focus and work ethic. I mean, I still maintain he's the most entertaining guy to talk to. I mean, he speaks, and goalie speak is maybe a little different than normal players speak. But he's always he's thoughtful, interesting, doesn't have much of a filter. But if you look back to the development and the work that he's done in the offseason, I mean, he's come so far from when he started. When he started, he was pretty damn good. Like, I think about the way that he handled the puck in the first few years.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, famously, one of the individuals in our chat was Helly's shock collar. The joke was when he went out, the Morrissey would kind of zap him to get back in. Like, a lot of times it was like handling a hand grenade with the pin pulled. He is so much better in that aspect of his game over the last few seasons, and it's obvious that there's been a lot of work put in. And I'll say this, Connor, and again, this is just 3 games in, especially in, I want to say, the Edmonton game in the first period. He's got a new, the confidence he has with his stick while in the net, I'm noticing far more active with it. Made 2 great plays in that Edmonton game right out of the gate, challenging shooters that were coming in close to the net, almost like with the pseudo poke check, or challenging the scooter with the stick. And that was something before. So he's adding more parts to his game, but at the same time doing what the number one job is, and that is stopping pucks. And, if he can continue this trajectory, as I mentioned, we'll be talking about a guy that'll be, there's already, historic when it comes to Winnipeg Jets history, but more than just the Winnipeg Jets. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me put this out again. We were talking Bryan a little later, and we're going to talk a lot about Bryan coming up, but why not question of the day? Is Connor Hellebuyck a Hall of Famer right now? Like, and like, there's an argument to be made that, I mean, listen, we don't have to really have that conversation right now because there's still a lot of time left. But I mean, the 2 Vezina trophies, the finalists, I think Jeremy Nickerson said there's 23 goaltenders in NHL history that have multiple Vezinas. I would imagine a good chunk of those are probably back from like the 16 era. And listen, at the end of the story, he's going to have his name mentioned along the lines of the greatest as well. So let us know in the chat for the Why Not question of the day. The brought to you by Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. And you know what? Listen, while we're talking about Connor Hellebuyck, Andrew, if you want to get the Josh Morrissey bit ready, if you could. I think this morning, as much as it's like, okay, finally we've got a game, we're playing San Jose tonight. The fact that nothing's really changed over the last few days, I think was an opportunity for some of the media to ask some of Hellebuyck's longtime teammates just about the player, the teammate he is, and what a special player he is. And Josh Morrissey, one of the leaders on the Jets, was in front of the mics earlier today, and here's what he had to say about their Vezina Trophy winning netminder.
Josh, maybe before we talk a little bit about San Jose and getting back at it, you've had the great pleasure to play with the man of the hour here for Connor Hellebuyck night, for if not all, certainly a majority of your career. How much has he meant to you, both individually and then from a team perspective?
Yeah, obviously, it's been fun going up through the years with him. We kind of made the team at similar times, played together in the minors, went through development camps, and then for basically our whole careers, obviously, have been together in the pro ranks. So it's pretty cool to, first off, I guess, realize time goes by pretty quick, and but also just for him, how hard he's worked. He's coming from the first time I met him, he always had a plan and, was very confident. I remember my probably rookie year, I think he got pulled in a game and, came out and said in the media something along the lines of his games where, good enough to win a Vezina, and everyone laughed at him. And sure enough, here we are 2 Vezinas later and could be more. So, I think he's just always had a confidence, but it's not an arrogance because he has a plan behind it. So everything he does with intention. And I think you've seen his development grow that way year over year, his consistency in his habits. So just happy for him. And personally, I'm, certainly very lucky to have the chance to play basically every game in front of a Vezina caliber goaltender throughout my career. I think it makes me look better, saves my bacon here and there. So it's definitely a special night for him.
There is Josh Morrissey, and I mean, a little bit of a chuckle at the end, but I mean, he's saying it because it's true. You gotta love being a workhorse defenseman playing in front of 37 night in and night out, because when you do get victimized or make the odd mistake, there's a better chance than maybe anybody else in the league back there that mistake will be covered up by a big save.
Yeah, and I love how Josh Morrissey brought up the fact that after, getting pulled in his rookie year, Conor Hellebuyck had the presser where, I think my game's good enough. We've heard that so many times when rarely he gets lit up, he'll get asked about it and go, yeah, I thought I played great tonight. My game's in a great spot. He's got the confidence. He just brushes it off. He doesn't really care. That's one of the awesome things about Conor Hellebuyck. And I also want to add to the things that we mentioned there of what he could do. I forgot that, NHL players are returning to the Olympics, and Conor Hellebuyck is the best American goaltender right now. So maybe, I know we all live in Winnipeg, live in Canada. We don't want to see the U.S. win, but if they won a gold medal, that's another thing that adds to Conor Hellebuyck's very stacked resume that would potentially get him into the Hall of Fame, along with saving Josh Morrissey's bacon on a nightly basis.
The funny thing is that, speaking, I cannot wait for the Four Nations. I know some people are like, well, if it's not the Olympics, whatever, man. I want best on best. I want the best Canadian team to go up against anybody, any of the other nations. And listen, we've got a pretty good rivalry with the United States. And obviously, I'm not handing in my passport here or anything like that, but it'll be tough not to be pulling for a guy like Conor Hellebuyck in that event, except, of course, when they're playing Canada. And listen, that tournament is also going to bring up some big questions as to workload, how much these guys are going to play. I mean, as I say, I'm not as worried about the workload as many others in the media are. Guys playing great, winning hockey games, especially this early in the season. I have no issue with them rolling them out both games this weekend and maybe even in St. Louis, and figuring out when he wants to take a break. The thing about it is having a start like this, especially when some other legit contenders are starting off so poorly, it may give the Winnipeg Jets that comfort level to give him a little bit more time off, especially if he's playing in and around the Four Nations. But most importantly, later on in the season, when you're ramping up and getting ready for what is really going to be the test of this hockey club, assuming they're able to qualify for the playoffs, is what happens in the playoffs. We'll hear from Coach Scott Arneil in a minute. But let's get to our fan feedback segment, brought to you by our friends at fansfirst.ca. Fans First is brought to you by Fans First, your best option for buying and selling tickets with no fees. What you see is what you pay. As a season ticket holder, I can tell you there are the odd occasion where I've either got an extra pair of seats. Certainly when it comes to selling tickets, the easiest, best, most consumer-friendly platform. with amazing customer service as well. We had that message from Russ earlier, who mentioned that he had put his tickets up, and he actually got a text from someone there saying he priced them pretty low. Are you sure about that? That's that sort of service you'll get from that. So if you do need a last-minute seat, or you need to get rid of a pair, fansfirst.ca, your spot to do it. All right. I mean, lots of conversation about Connor Hellebuyck as we get into this. And Mike Wynn says, yes, Hall of Famer. Comment says he's halfway there. Jay Miller, a bubble for the Hall. So David's right now, I would say no, but pretty darn close. And then Leslie Mitchuk, I love Hellebuyck, but I think he does need a long playoff run and hopefully a cup to cement his Hall of Fame credentials. And you know what? Henrik Lundqvist is a perfect example of a guy like that, had Vezina Trophy, went to the cup final, like one round farther than Hellebuyck's been so far to this point in his career, but didn't be good. Roberto Luongo, as well. But how many of those goalies that Huss mentioned have cups? I mean, some of them don't, though. I mean, Roberto Luongo doesn't. Henrik Lundqvist doesn't. I don't believe Rogie Vachon does. I mean, like when we talk about Brodeur, when we talk about Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, along with Terry Sawchuk in a completely different era, have always been thought of as the greatest to ever do it. And obviously, I'm not suggesting that he's in that stratosphere yet. I mean, there is a bunch of winning that needs to happen, and you need to keep doing it all those guys had like near 20-year careers. But the way he started off up until this point, now getting into this contract extension this year, certainly in the conversation and ticks off a lot of the boxes already for a Hall of Famer. Keep on your shot. Keep with the comments coming in on Hellebuyck and this weekend in the chat. We always love your fan feedback here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And of course, fan feedback is brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Bryan Little's coming up. We spent a lot of time talking about Connor Hellebuyck. Tonight, it is Hellebuyck night. Bryan Little's going to join us a little later on. We're also going to check in with Norva Riddell on some lucky fan who will get a pretty darn sweet prize tonight as the 20 millionth fan of Canada Life Center. But Andrew, if you can, let's fire up the coach here because there's been a lot of practice so far this week. The guys are getting ready to get back on the ice. And the Heritage unis are going to be out tonight. I saw that cool new mask that Hellebuyck's going to be wearing this evening. And Scott Arneil had the Heritage style hoodie on today. Here's the media availability from this morning of Coach Scott Arneil before the Jets look to try to get to 4-0 tonight against the San Jose Sharks.
Having 4 days, though, for the coaches to huddle up and act like mad scientists, if things are going well tonight, is there anything we would notice particularly tonight compared to the previous two home games?
I hope not. I don't think we need to change anything we're doing. The biggest thing for me is that, which I've already mentioned to the group, is that we have to go take the game away from San Jose. They're not going to hand it to us just because they played last night, no matter what, traveling in here. We have to go take the game away from them. So, that's what I've been kind of mentioning here this morning. I'm going to mention again tonight that we have a style of play, a way we want to play, and we've done a good job the first 3 games, but now we got to do it again. It was good that we got this little break. You'd like to keep playing when you're moving along and winning, but at the end of the day, we got to work on some other areas. Again, we got to touch on some stuff maybe that we haven't really talked about in a couple of weeks, and now just more tonight. It's about our speed, how fast we play, getting after them. Not handing them offense by maybe poor puck decisions, whatever it is. It's just attacking them as fast as we can.
Especially with what you're going into. You talked about it earlier in the week, whatever it is, every other day for 27 days or something like that. In a perfect world, I guess you'd be able to deploy shift-wise the 3 defense pairs and all forward lines.
I would hope to.
As you have, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to continue. Obviously, depends what happens in this situation. If it's one of those games, they got in one last night. All it was specialty teams, especially the second period. Hopefully, we don't get into something like that. But at the end of the day, it'll get itself based on kind of what's going on in the game. But we're a 4-line six defense team. I think that allows us to play at a high pace, allows us to have pressure and be in attack mode all the time. We get out there, lower numbers, longer shifts. It doesn't play to advantage.
Scott, what have you liked about the Miller-Fleury pairing in the first 3 games?
They've been, probably the best way is I really haven't noticed them in the sense of they just go do their jobs. And that's been great that they've been consistent. There's been times when they've been out against the fourth line. There's times when they're out against the first line. And it's happened in all 3 games, and they've, done their jobs. And, all 3 of them have all 2 of them have the ability to move the puck. They're big physical guys, which I like as well, boxing out, keeping people away from the front of the net. So more than anything, they're just being consistent with their game. I know Millsy, but not really knowing Fleur. Kind of getting him to kind of look the same every shift, and that's kind of what we're seeing.
What did you learn about Tyler Toffoli last year after his arrival?
Well, you know what? He's obviously been he's elite goal scorer in this league. Got another one last night. He scores. He has a way to put pucks in net. He knows how to find holes. He's got a tricky, quick release on that shot of his. He's a veteran guy that they brought in to help a lot of their young kids, and he ended up obviously played a big role for us in that after the deadline. And at the end of the day, he's a veteran guy that knows what it takes to play in this league and have success.
You mentioned, the Sharks look different. How do they look different stylistically?
They're in attack mode. I know this coach is coming over sort of from the Carolina organization. They're pressure. They're coming. They're going to get in your face, whether it's through the neutral zone. The forecheck, they're coming heavy. Same thing, when it comes to the D zone, they're not giving you a lot of time and space. They're not going to back off and allow you to have room. They're going to try to pressure you as much as they can. Watch the Dallas game, watch the St. Louis game. They gave them everything. Last night was, like I said, it was a specialty teams game, it looked like, but against those other 2 teams, they put a lot of pressure and they put a lot of sort of heat on, whether it was the defense or the forwards. And so we got to make sure that our support, our puck management is real good against them.
Just some housekeeping. The latest on Ville. Has he skated yet, or is there a time?
Ville is not on the ice. If he is, he's quietly on the ice, but nothing heavy yet. No, I don't even think he's on yet.
Okay. Any idea when that, what the target is? We'll see.
Nope. Gotta wait on that one.
Just one more for me, Scott. To go back to what you were just talking about, where it became a special teams game last night. How much does that benefit you? Because for the first 3 games, you've been able to play it far more 5-on-5. You've only been shorthanded 5 times. What is it you guys are doing to stay out of the penalty box in particular through those first 3 games that you've seen?
One thing we talk about is checking with your legs. Obviously, you get in situations where you start using your sticks. That's 80% of the calls are stick infractions. So staying off people that way, when we close quick, when we defend quick, it keeps us out of those reach-in situations. That always turns itself. Some days, some stretches you go where you don't take penalties. Other times, it seems like they're coming one right after the other. So we've been good that way, but I think it starts a lot with our stick detail and making sure that we're not getting it into people.
All right, there is head coach Scott Arneil from earlier today. And, Conor, the interesting bit on there, which I think there was already people asking in chat, we're going to hear anything about Ville? Ken sort of alluded to this yesterday. But, and listen, there's a lot of, I think, sort of mystery about this. This was apparently an infection. He had to get a screw taken out. They're going to be very careful on this. It sounds like it's just killing the young man not to be able to get out there with his teammates right now. We've seen the videos of him. And I know you've been around the rink of him doing his stick work from the side of the bench. Mm-hmm. I know everyone's excited to see him get back into the mix, but from the sounds of it from the coach, this is something that could take a little while. And certainly from this week with Logan Stanley taken off the non-contact jersey, Big Stan's going to get that chance to probably get back in the lineup much sooner than the young Finn.
Yeah, I've seen him almost every single day at the Hockey for All Center there. When the Jets are done skating, he'll be out there just doing puck work, walking around on the ice, bouncing the puck to himself off the boards. Like he's keeping his hands warm, I guess is what that is, but he's chomping at the bit to get back, get healthy, and maybe take over that number 6 spot that he looked certain to have coming out of training camp last year. And then this year, obviously, he was skating with Colin Miller on the first day, had the ankle infection pop up. So hopefully he's able to get healthy soon. But like you and Ken Wiebe alluded to yesterday in your conversation, I thought Hayden Fleury's been great on that third pair. And like Scott Arneil just said, haven't really noticed him that much. That's what you want from a third pairing, is just to, not have to worry about them. Don't have those back-breaking turnovers at the wrong time. And I think that third pair has done a great job of doing just that.
Yeah, listen, I think that's been one of the real nice parts of this start. As much as people are, kind of getting a little cantankerous about, lines, which fans seemingly do 100% of the time, no matter how things are going. That's a bit of an exaggeration. The fact of the matter is, and I get back to this, that the defensive identity of this team really has carried over. And, Arnie makes a great point about that third pairing. I mean, you haven't really noticed them. I mean, they haven't been unable to get clear the zone, unable to make that pass. And that's exactly what you want from your third pairing. I really like Colin Miller. I mean, I think that, having a full training camp and knowing he's kind of safe in his spot has really helped him. And let's say Hayden Fleury so far has been, I don't want to say necessarily a nice surprise. I mean, this is a guy that's played in the National Hockey League. He's got lots of games. He was a high pick. But I think he sort of came in here thinking that this was almost insurance. Well, they needed the insurance right out of the gate. And he has had a real nice start to the season. We're going to get to Norva Riddell for a few minutes, and then Bryan Little is going to join us. Of course, we will have marbles. We will have the cool bet lines. Hacksaw is going to join us later on today. I did pin, by the way, if you're with us on YouTube right now, there's a link right in the chat. If you want to grab a ticket with us for Sunday's game, you have until the end of the show today, right around the marble race, at which point it'll cut off. So if you want to join us, the ticket includes a beer. We'll get together in the 316 bar before the game. First day of our game of the month with Winnipeg Sports Talk. The link is in the description. All right, listen, before we get to Norva, I mentioned CFL 110 is up right now. You can check that out at your leisure. It is brought to you by our friends at Garage Living Winnipeg. Fall is here and the push is on, gang. If you want to get that clean, organized garage before the snow flies, give Garage Living Winnipeg a call at 999-1234. Been a crazy fall for Pat and the gang there. As soon as back to school hit, people are suddenly seeing all the kids' bikes and hockey and football equipment all over the garage. They've got an innovative solution called Slat Wall with dozens of hooks, baskets, and shelves that clip into it to get everything off your floor. There's even a cool golf club caddy and tire racks to store those winter or summer tires. And you can do as much of it or as little of it as you want to fit within your budget. Don't miss your chance to clear the clutter, organize and beautify your garage with Slat Wall, polyaspartic floor coating, made in Canada, premium metal cabinetry for a total garage makeover. You can check out their amazing work online at garageliving.com and give Pat Kanuga a call, 204-999-1234 to book a free in-garage consultation or make an appointment to meet him in their showroom at 981 Main Street. Garage Living Winnipeg, garages made for living. Big shout out to our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, family owned and operated for over 60 years. Had a good chat. And again, shout out to our pal Dallas Paul, is one of our most loyal listeners. Dallas had a move this week, and Dallas used the promo code WST when he requested an estimate from Rollies for a special deal on moving services and supplies. Great to hear feedback. We appreciate so much our customers, our listeners supporting our sponsors. And listen, you have a move, you want to get the stress out of it as much as possible and get that white glove treatment as only Rollies can provide. Check out their website at rollies.com. You can request an estimate at the top right corner. Let them know when and where you're moving, what you're moving. Use the promo code WST, and they'll turn it around quickly with a great quote for you to get you moving to your next spot. For your next move, make it Rollies. Check them out online and request an estimate today at rollies.com. A big thanks to our friends over at Consolidated Supply for their support of WST. Of course, Consolidated Supply, synonymous with the golf industry for decades, working with most of the courses all around the province as with all of their irrigation systems and solutions. And I did some great work at Breezy that Consolidated Supply was involved in this year. They've also got artificial turf and golf carts, both new and used, as the exclusive club car dealer here in Manitoba. They've also got other great options for your property, like hot tubs, amazing outdoor kitchen options, as well as the leaders in small engine parts and repair. Pop by and see them at their showroom, open to the public, 1395 Niagara Road East, or find out more online at cte.ca. And hey, winter is just around the corner. I don't want to belabor that fact, but are you ready for it? Our friends at Manitoba Battery are your local option for the best batteries and at the best prices in town, beating the pants off the big box stores. Listen, we had a lot of fun on boats and camping and all that in the summer that Manitoba Battery was powering. Now it's time to get ready for winter. Make sure your car or truck battery has the juice in it to get through what is to come. If you do need a battery, make it Manitoba Battery. Shop local and get the best prices in town. Visit them on Logan Avenue or Dover Court Drive at the new location. Give them a call or order online at manitobabattery.com. Of course, they deliver for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. For more information on all the deals they've got going on right now, check them out at manitobabattery.com. All right, Bryan Little coming up. Extended conversation with the guest of honor on Sunday. Before that, big night tonight. It's Hellebuyck night, and someone will be Canada Life Center's 20 millionth fan. Caught up with Norva Riddell from True North a little earlier to talk about that and how the summer went with the work that the organization's been doing to make up for some lost season tickets and get things going in the right direction. Here's Norva. All right, we got a huge weekend coming up at Canada Life Centre, a Hellebuyck night tonight. Of course, the celebration of Bryan Little and the Penguins on Sunday. But tonight is also the night where Canada Life Centre is going to welcome in their 20 millionth fan. And Norva Riddell from the Jets and True North joins us now. Norva, great to talk to you, especially today coming into such an exciting weekend.
Nice to talk to you too. You had to find somebody that actually had been around for 20 years. So, yeah.
Hey, we've been doing it for a while, that's for sure. Well, hey, listen, there's a lot of work that's gone into, tons of things in the off season, which we'll get to in a minute. But right off the bat, let's talk about this. It sounds like somebody going to the game tonight is going to walk into the building and find out their fan 20 million for Canada Life Centre. And it'll be a pretty lucky fan for tonight's game.
That's true, and it'll be really exciting. And we're everyone's going to arrive as they would, and we can see through various scan counts how this will all come together. And so during the first period, that winner, that fan, will be acknowledged and found, and then a nice prize package will be offered to them.
Yeah, VIP experience, $1,000 credit to be used at Jets gear, and Canada Life Centre concessions. 2 tickets to a concert, a game, and a one-of-a-kind 20 millionth fan Winnipeg Jets jersey. It is funny. It's hard to believe 20 years and 20 million fans. This building has seen a lot of great events, but also a lot of great hockey. And I think we got 2 more great games on tap this weekend.
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah, and don't you remember actually walking around in our seat selection process back 20 years ago trying to pull that all together? Yeah.
Well, we still have them. Actually, speaking of seats, I want to ask you about that. But, tonight, obviously, celebrating Hellebuyck and his second Vezina trophy. Sunday is Bryan Little night, and he's going to be signing the one-day contract to retire as a Winnipeg Jet. We're going to be speaking with Bryan on the show today. Really looking forward to that. I wanted to ask you, just being with the organization through all these years, what do you remember about Bryan? Because he was certainly a special player on the ice, but when you speak to anyone that dealt with Bryan off the ice, they hold him in such a high regard.
He is he's such a classy, thoughtful young man or gentleman. The organization obviously had a huge admiration for him, but so did fans. He did a lot of work in the community, both him and his wife, and I don't know, nothing short of classy, kind, thoughtful, obviously a great player, but just a really, really good person.
Well, and listen, it should be a great game. And I know we were thinking about the potential return of another person that certainly didn't do what Bryan Little did for the Jets, but the focus is going to be on Bryan. And listen, Sidney Crosby coming in, pretty heck of a way to, see the team off onto a road trip after what's been a great start. Speaking of the start, a year ago, Norva, at this time, I think there was a lot of concern about where the ticket base was. And, we spoke on this program about the work that needed to be done. I just wanted to ask you right now, how did the summer go? I know myself, some people that, are new ticket holders, but, when you look back, and obviously the job's not finished, but how are you feeling about where the team and the organization is at? And can you tell us anything about, where the ticket base might be today as opposed to where we were when we spoke a year ago?
100%. And thanks for asking. So lots of change has occurred since we had our last conversation, right? So in addition to the obvious, I would say one of the biggest changes among others. So we started with launching our renewal, right? When we went out in the new year in preparation for this, and we had a 95% renewal, which was remarkable. We hadn't seen that since pre-COVID. A part of that journey has been really trying to listen to our fans and understand what it is that's important to them. So everything from fulls, halves, quarter season ticket packages, 4, 6, 8 game packages, customizing different offerings for our customers, enhancing our benefits. The list goes on. And I think that was that really helped with that renewal process. As it relates to our new sales, we have sold over 1,000 FSEs, full season equivalences that we call them, which is 3 times better than where we were this time last year. So as it relates to our base and progress, we're making great progress. And I think what encouraging for us is that was a downward trend, and we flattened it, and now the curve is we're going up, which is very, very encouraging for all of us. We know we still have work to do. We're taking lots into consideration as we keep trying to navigate improvements, but a good start.
Well, for sure. That's good news for everybody involved. One thing I can tell you just from the fan experience going to the last few games, there is some new stuff. Loving the band at the intermission. The sound system is, I guess, depending on where you're sitting, either much better or significantly better. But I have to tell you, and one thing I wasn't expecting that I have absolutely loved, the ease of getting into the building right now is night and day from anything that we've seen before.
It is beyond night and day, right? Like, so people actually, it's quite comical. We've tested it a couple times last year as we were considering the technology that we were going to use. And so we have implemented it, and many fans would see that technology elsewhere. But in our city, in our province, it's really going to make a huge difference when you think about all you literally do is walk in, and the only time that you're pulled over is if it identifies that you have something on you that you shouldn't, which is so rare because our fans are so good at knowing what they can bring and not bring to the venue. And so you literally just walk through, and I think where we're all really going to appreciate it is as our weather turns colder, you are no longer going to be waiting outside and waiting in line. You're just going to be you getting into the building really quickly.
I'll be honest. I went through the first time, and I went through, and I was waiting for what the next step was. And they're like, "Get going, get going."
That's exactly what everybody's doing. Yeah.
And obviously a couple exciting OT wins to start off the season for the home fans was great. And then obviously a big weekend. Conor Hellebuyck getting his just desserts and hopefully getting another win tonight. And then, of course, what's always a big night when Sidney Crosby, a Canadian hockey legend, comes in with the Penguins. But on a night we celebrate Bryan Little. Norva, thanks so much for doing this. Great to see you. And good luck to everyone going to the game tonight. May you be the 20 millionth fan of Canada Life Centre. We'll catch up again soon, Norva. Appreciate you jumping on Winnipeg Sports Talk today.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Yeah, and Winnipeg's favorite local beer, 1919, is now available at select Boston Pizzas. So if you're out at BP on the weekend, ask your server if you can get some of the good stuff, that 1919. And speaking of Little Brown Jug and Boston Pizza, we're going to sort of kick that off on October 30th. WST watch party, Boston Pizza, Polo Park, Jets and the Detroit Red Wings. The puck drops at 6:30. We're going to do a little Jets trivia at the intermissions. We'll have some prizing from Little Brown Jug. And of course, every game, when you go watch a Boston Pizza, you'll have your chance to spin the prize wheel, win great BP food and swag from Royal Sports, and get in to win Boston Pizza's grand prize trip for 2 to Boston to see the Winnipeg Jets and the Boston Bruins at TD Gardens. BP's also throwing in tickets to see the Celtics and Bulls the night before. It includes airfare, deluxe hotel, and game tickets to both events. The pick a player will be happening on the 30th. So save that date, Wednesday, October 30th. I was just texting with Liz. She's fired up. She's going to be there. Conor's going to come. We will have the crew representing that day. So hopefully you can join us for a few 1919s and hopefully a big Jets win at Boston Pizza. Of course, this weekend and always, you can get the great taste of BP by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. And of course, BP has some Royal Sports swag to give away. When we're talking about Jets hats, hoodies, gear, jerseys, you name it, Royal Sports is the place in town with the biggest selection of merch for the home team. And it's not just the Winnipeg Jets. Great selection of bomber gear as we get ready for a home playoff game outside of Princess Auto Stadium. NHL, all 32 teams represented. Of course, the full NFL. If you're a fan of a particular team, Royal Sports has you covered. And if you're a hockey player, Royal Sports has had you covered for over 40 years as the hockey superstore in town with everything from full equipment sticks right down to stick tape and skate sharpening. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Hit them up on Instagram and give them a follow at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, we talked a lot about Conor Hellebuyck tonight, but the man of the hour on Sunday is going to be Bryan Little. He is signing a one-day contract to retire a Winnipeg Jet. This has been long coming, and it's all going to happen on Sunday afternoon. Another great reason to be in attendance for that game against Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, with Bryan Little coming to town this weekend, got a chance to sit down with the longtime Jet fan favorite to look back at his career and not look ahead to Sunday afternoon. Well, Sunday is a big, big day. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in town for a 2:00 start against the Winnipeg Jets. But the biggest reason to celebrate is the incredible career of Bryan Little, who will be signing a one-day contract to retire a Winnipeg Jet and be welcomed back to Winnipeg by so many fans that got a chance to watch him in the majority of his NHL career right here in the Peg. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome back to Winnipeg Sports Talk, Bryan Little. Bryan, thanks so much for doing this. It is great to talk to you again. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Sunday. It's going to be a special day for sure.
No doubt. Well, I mean, you have so many fans here in Winnipeg, and obviously, I think everyone has been waiting for this day for a long time. First off, how are you doing these days? I mean, you look great. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I'm just home right now, just being a dad. I mean, my daughter's in a lot of activities, so just shuttling her back and forth between school and dance and gymnastics and stuff like that. So just she's keeping me busy, that's for sure.
Well, I definitely want to get to dad life and your family and your kind of life after hockey, but let's kind of go back to the summer of 2011, which certainly for people here in Winnipeg, kind of one of the most magical times. The Atlanta Thrashers relocate to Winnipeg. You were just an up-and-coming player. You had 3 years in the league. I have to ask you, how do you remember finding out about what was happening with your entire team, and what was your reaction then to be going from Atlanta, north of the border, to a Canadian hockey market in Winnipeg?
I remember pretty clearly how quick everything happened. I think they were talking, I can't remember what team they were talking about that was rumored to be moving. But I remember our season ending, and basically when we were coming in for meetings and cleaning out our lockers and stuff, they're just like, the team is sold. You guys are the team that's going to Winnipeg next year. And that was it. I was like, oh wow. Like I've never at that point, I've never been to Winnipeg. I don't know anything really about it. I know Dale Hrabchak and the Jets and like the history and stuff, but it happened so fast. And I remember like all that summer, I was like, we were going back and forth between here and Winnipeg, trying to find a place. I think we made a couple trips down to Atlanta because I was like trying to get out of the lease for my apartment. I was trying to get a lease for my car, like just like panic selling stuff. And yeah, that whole summer was kind of a blur because we had to move so fast. And, it was such a big change, like quickly. But I remember being, kind of in shock that it was happening to us, but also being excited because it's like, I mean, it's every Canadian player's dream to play for a Canadian team. And, everything you heard about Winnipeg, the fans and stuff, I was getting more and more excited as the season was coming up.
I imagine you probably got that feeling like on a couple of those trips during the summer to come in and just, to get a place. I mean, being here and that whirlwind, everything happening so fast, I think was the same for everyone. I mean, especially if you were, my God, the people that worked in the organization, turning that thing around from an AHL operation to getting ready for an NHL one was, something that we'll look back, in amazement that it happened so quickly. But I mean, do you remember a buzz in the city about what was to come, even when you were here just looking for a place before you'd actually put any equipment on or even skated in the Peg?
Yeah, well, I remember seeing all the videos when it was announced, and like the camera shots from like downtown Winnipeg, like people on the street celebrating and stuff. So that was super cool. And then, I don't remember too much about like those first couple of trips to Winnipeg. It was the middle of summer, so the first thing I'm thinking is, I didn't know it got that hot there in the summer, and everyone keeps talking. They're just like, just wait till the winter. You'll experience the whole thing. But I just remember having a hard time finding a place to live. That's why we were out there so many times at first, because it was like, we're trying to find a place to rent, and it was like not a lot available compared to like a big city like Atlanta. So yeah, it was different for sure.
Well, you ended up getting the place. The team showed up. Obviously, you go through training camp, and I'll still never forget the first preseason game. Like Buff and Stu dropping the gloves on that. Were you playing in that game?
No, I was disappointed I wasn't, but I watched that from like the press box, and yeah, same memories as everyone else. Like I think Buff laid out like two guys in a row, then someone tried to fight him, and him and Stewie were fighting at the same time. And I was like the first shift of the game. Like that was right away. So I remember like thinking like this feels like a playoff game. Like this feels like a important game. And the energy in the building and stuff in that first shift, it was just like this couldn't have went any better.
I'm not sure there will ever in hockey history be a more insane first exhibition game of the year than that one here in Winnipeg. And just the excitement, the 15 years of on a team, it all sort of came back. And listen, that magic kind of continued throughout the year. I mean, when people ask you now about that first year with the Winnipeg Jets, I mean, how do you look back at the 2011 season with the return of the Jets and being front and center of the club on the ice, and certainly one of the biggest representatives of Winnipeg, both on the ice and in the community?
I just remember the fans being so like just supportive and like excited about hockey being back in Winnipeg. Even in like training camp, like at the practice complex, like the stands were jammed for like our practices and training camp, and the first every home game, it felt like the energy was like through the roof. Like every home game felt like a playoff game, and it was like so cool to play in front of that, especially coming from Atlanta, where like we were struggling to put fill half the rink up. There's 6,000 or 7,000 people there for most of our home games, so to go from two extremes and see that, it was just incredible. And I remember, we definitely struggled those first few years coming from Atlanta. But the fans were so like just excited to have a team back that they were supportive no matter what.
I mean, there are so many characters from that team too. And I mean, I think that, obviously there's been great teams and you were a part of many of them. When people think back of, the 11-12, Winnipeg Jets and the return of the Winnipeg Jets, certainly yourself and some of the players, what do you remember? What Claude Noel, I mean, he was such a beauty. And I still think of our interviews with Claude back on the old radio station. What was it like behind the scenes with Claude, kind of managing everything that you guys had been through, coaching a new team because he wasn't your coach the year before, all in the midst of all of this chaos with the upheaval, the move, and the excitement of welcoming NHL hockey back in this market?
Yeah, Claude was awesome. He always had some great sound bites and stuff. I think we were just all kind of in it together. We were all experiencing it together. I mean, he was coming in the NHL, so he was kind of figuring out the lay of the land, the players, the guys that we were facing every night. Our travel was like all messed up that year because we were in the same division, so we were like all over the place. So yeah, it was just like a whirlwind of a year. Like, we were all like, I think that's what made us kind of closer as a team and like really bond, just because we were like all going through this crazy, change together. And yeah, there some of those names from that first year, that I remember that the GST line and like some of the crowd chants that got going for that first year. I mean, that was awesome.
Well, the GST is legendary, and I still think, I mean, Jim Slater, one of my favorite guys to talk about. I mean, Chris Thorburn, Tanner Glass. But I mean, when we think back of that era, we think of Little, Ladd, and Wheeler. When you look back at your career, those two players in particular, I mean, your relationships with those guys and what you were able to do as the top line of the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, what stands out about Blake and Andrew and that time you had playing together with them?
I think just how well we got along. I mean, we were all in Atlanta together. We played a bit in Atlanta together. We made that change to Winnipeg, and we all kind of like grew up as people and as players together. And to see those guys, I mean, those were, two of my favorite teammates I ever played with. They're both super good guys off the ice and both great players. I mean, I think those two are probably my favorite line mates, I ever played with. Blake was a great leader. Andrew was a great leader. I have nothing but good memories and good things to say about those guys. They were awesome.
Well, I mean, we've certainly for years, I mean, and 4 years, we'll be seeing 16s and 18s and 26s in the rafters at the Canada Life Center. Probably if you look at the entire history of the Winnipeg Jets, I don't think there's any doubt that those three, along with 33s, will be the highest selling Jets. Dustin Byfuglien, I mean, as a teammate, like Buff's sort of a legend in his own right, but what was your relationship with Buff like, as a teammate, and how much fun was it just to watch him play, even if you were on the bench, seeing him do what he was doing?
Oh man, he was fun to watch, and he was fun to be around off the ice. I think, Buff is like such a lighthearted guy and like such a jokester. I mean, and he doesn't have an off switch with that. So it's like, even during the game, even like on the bench in the dressing room before the game, and I'm kind of the opposite, and a lot of guys are the opposite. They come to the rink for the game. During the game, they got their game face on. They're serious and stuff. And then you got a guy like Buff there who knows that, and he tries to get a smile out of you like during the game or before a face off, and you're just like, that's Buff. That's what he does. But he was definitely one of a kind. I mean, watching him play, he has to be the strongest guy to ever play in the NHL. Like, this naturally could, everyone's seen videos of him in scrums, just like grabbing two guys, throwing them across the ice. Like, he was so fun to play with. And, when he was on the ice with you, he also felt like you were like, 6'5". So yeah, he was a beauty.
Bryan Little's with us, who will officially sign a contract and retire a Winnipeg Jet Sunday afternoon against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bryan, what do you remember about Paul Maurice taking over and kind of the Maurice effect as to how he brought your group from a team that had a lot of talent to a team that, I think in a lot of people's opinions, maybe was a bit ahead of schedule, making the playoffs and getting into that series against the Ducks like you did in 2015?
Yeah, I think that Ducks series was kind of a good experience for us to go through. There were a lot of guys in that room, quite a few guys that never played a playoff game, myself included. So to just see what the different level was, and the ups and downs, even in a one series, was a big learning experience for us. And I think Paul was kind of the right guy for the job. He's someone that had a lot of experience coaching and being in those situations. And he was such a good speaker and a good motivator. And I think he kind of helped us. If we took that step early, it's probably because of him, because he was great behind the bench for us.
That was, in 2015, it was a short series. I was down at the 2 games in Anaheim, and I mean, they were absolute nail biters. I don't think you'll ever have a closer 4-game series, but you came back, you scored 2 of your most memorable goals in the playoffs, as the Jets returned. But I mean, that whiteout, that period that I'm sure you and everyone, wanted to go longer, but what do you remember about coming out for the first time at the arena in front of the whiteout as in the playoffs for the Winnipeg Jets?
It was so cool. That was one of my favorite memories, that first playoff series, because that's the first taste of it I got. And I remember just driving down to the rink for the first home game, and it was just like jammed, because like everyone, like there were thousands of people outside. And I remember coming out on the ice for a warm up, and it was like every single person was like in their seats, like standing up for warm up. I've never seen that before. It was so cool. And yeah, everyone was just like, all the guys were so pumped up, because like the majority of us had never played in a playoff game before. So to come out to that atmosphere, like one of the best in hockey, probably the best playoff atmosphere in hockey, it was incredible. I mean, it was one of those times that you had to try and calm yourself down, because you were like too fired up, So yeah, that first series, and like you said, it was like, I thought it was definitely a closer series than the outcome projected. And we had some games where we kind of blew a lead there, and probably deserved a bit better. But I think, like I said, that was kind of the inexperience kind of showing itself.
There was a bit of a reset with the club personnel-wise over the next couple of years, but I imagine that experience against a team like Anaheim, in a lot of ways, probably taught you guys, as still a relatively young team, what it was going to take take that next step. And obviously a big part of that led into that amazing 2017-18 season for you and the Winnipeg Jets, going all the way to the conference finals.
Yeah, that was really special, that run. And that's the one I kind of think about the most now that I'm done. Was like, oh man, like it's so hard just to get into the playoffs. I mean, like there's 50% of the teams don't make the playoffs. So nowadays it's just so hard to get in, and then it's just a grind when you get in. So thinking back on that series, like that was, for me, that was my chance. And just looking back, it's just tough to look back at it now, but it was an amazing experience. And man, we had a really good team that year.
Well, no doubt. I mean, in those couple of years, I mean, and again, it speaks to how many great teams they are and how difficult it is to win. But, some of our greatest memories are of those squads. One of the other, I mean, we've spent a lot of time this week talking about your contributions to the team and to the community. We'll always remember that Heritage Classic, which unfortunately ended up being your final goal. But, I mean, what a moment that was. What do you remember about that outdoor game, scoring that goal? I mean, a historic goal in Winnipeg Jets history, and everything around it, because, from a fan and a media standpoint, it was such a unique event that, it was in a non-NHL city. You had Winnipeg and Calgary sort of meeting in the middle. You had a very split crowd, a very close game, and a thrilling overtime win by you in those beautiful Heritage unis.
Yeah, I actually my last goal was in Anaheim, I think. Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Slap shot, I think. Yeah. But I like to think of that as my last goal. That'd be better. No, that was really cool, because I remember the first outdoor game in Winnipeg I had missed because I was injured. And I was like, so bummed about it because I wanted to play in one so bad. So yeah, when we were supposed to play in Saskatchewan there, I was like so fired up for it. And I remember like that the practice the day before, it was like so windy and cold. Like I just was not prepared for that. Like especially going up one end of the ice, you're just going into a headwind, and the glare off the rink. But yeah, that was super special. And my like parents and my brother came out for that game. Um, it was kind of different being in a neutral position, like you said. So like the crowd was kind of split. I mean, there was a lot of Winnipeg fans though, but yeah, I mean that's definitely one of my best memories, and that last year.
I mean, like I kind of hit on some of the playoffs, some of the things. Is there any other things that maybe fans wouldn't remember or wouldn't think that stands out to you when you look back at, all your time with the Winnipeg Jets, whether it be home or on the road, that, is a memory that, that really stands out to you when you look back at your great career?
I'm not sure. It's weird. I was like, a lot of my like favorite memories and the memories that are like clearest are the ones at home. And I think that's kind of, for a reason, because playing in Winnipeg was pretty special. So it's fitting that all those memories happened, in that arena in front of our fans. Yeah, like you said, like, you brought most of them up, like the first playoff series in that run, 2018. Yeah, just that's probably what I miss most. It's kind of in front of those fans. So that's it.
In speaking with people in the organization and others that have known you leading into this, I mean, it was pretty clear that you, your wife Brittany as well, had a real connection to this city. I mean, you're back in your hometown of Cambridge now, raising a young family. But how would you describe your connection with Winnipeg and the fan base that built all the way from that first game in 2011 until this weekend when we officially welcome you back and you retire as a Jet?
I mean, Winnipeg, I think, will always be one of those places that, no matter how long you're not there for, when you go back, it feels like you never left. It feels like kind of like home again. And we were actually just out there last weekend for a wedding. We were only out there for like a day and a half, but we were kind of in and out. But yeah, it's just every time you're back there, it just, getting in that airport and, it feels like you really never left. It's strange. And yeah, I can't remember the last game I've been to. It's been quite a few years now, but yeah, I'm looking forward to like getting in the arena and just like seeing the guys and the trainers and all the staff and stuff again. Because that's been a while. I mean, those guys they're busy. I know what it's like to be in a 2-game season where you're traveling and playing every other night. But yeah, it'll be good to actually to see those guys in person, guys I haven't talked to in a while.
People will be interested to know about, your relationships with former teammates, and you played with a lot of them over the course of the years. Who are the guys that you're closest, and you still keep in touch with many of the guys that you played with during your time here with the Jets?
Yeah, like the guys that I probably keep in touch with are the guys that I went up with, most of my time in Winnipeg. Guys like Ladd and Wheeler and Tyler Myers, I was just texting with the other day. Yeah, just guys. Ben Sherrod, actually, he lives pretty close by, and we usually see them a few times this summer. So yeah, it's not just guys in Winnipeg that are there. I mean, a lot of guys that have branched off to other teams that I still follow, and guys that are done now. So yeah, everyone's kind of all over the place.
It's funny. Mark Scheifele's now a grizzled veteran here in Winnipeg. Was obviously a big part of this team now. Brian, there's, I mean, listen, we could get into, more on the hockey, but I did want to ask you just on a personal side. I mean, now that your professional career is behind you, how's your family and how's dad life with a young one? What, just getting into school now?
Yeah. She's in grade 1. She gets homework now, which is crazy. I probably only got a few years left of being able to help her with that. But, yeah, she's in like I don't know, she does like gymnastics, dance, swimming. I mean, there's about every 6 days of the week we got something after school. So a lot of activities, but it's really cool because like, I get to be there for all that and watch her grow up and stuff. That's kind of I guess one of the silver linings or positives you can take away from this happening. I mean, it definitely sucked to end that way, but I got to see so much of her growing up in her early years. And so I think it'll be really cool for her to, like, now that she's a little bit older, come be in the arena and like see what her dad kind of used to be. So yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, now you're into the world of being a professional transportation operation, from one school to dance to other activities moving forward. You haven't been just sitting around though. Tell us about what you're doing athletically. Triathlon. How did you get into this? Why did you love it? I mean, what does it replace maybe as a professional athlete all that long that gets you into one of honestly the most grueling and challenging feats of athleticism you could possibly even attempt?
Yeah, I got into it. Actually, we moved out to the country, or kind of outside the city a bit, like 2018-ish, and I remember I got a road bike because there's like lots of cyclists around here, and I would just do it for like on the weekends, just short ones, like for kind of like recovery rides when my legs were sore. And then I can't remember, like I was like these like YouTube videos of triathletes, like this guy Lionel Sanders, Canadian, he's pretty big in the triathlon world. Had these crazy YouTube videos of himself training in his basement, and I was like, these guys are friggin' crazy. Like the amount of work they do, and just like usually like on their own behind the scenes, like the hours they put in. And so I thought, I got the bike, I can kind of run, like I can do sprints and stuff. And so I thought I'd give it a try. And I actually did my first 2 sprint triathlons when I was still playing. And I just did one at the end of the summer. So I was in really good shape for hockey, but it's definitely humbling, like when you're out there or like swimming and you're just getting passed by like 70-year-old women, like, and I remember I had to take like multiple breaks, like just doggy paddling and stuff. And yeah, like it's a whole different like kind of physical shape to be in. I was like in great shape. I was strong. I could run, 100 meters fast, but like the first race, there was a 5K and I was like absolutely dying by the end of this thing. So I remember thinking, like, it's one of those things too, that you're like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm never going to do this again. And then you finish and you're like, I can't wait to do that again. I can't wait to do more of that. Which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I remember thinking, like, when I was done playing hockey, like maybe I'll actually like train for one of these and see what I can do. So yeah, I came a bit earlier than I was hoping, but yeah, I've gotten really into it and kind of done longer and longer ones. Couple half Ironmans the last couple of years. So yeah, it's kind of something to like strive for, to have goals for, and keeps me busy and keeps me in shape and stuff.
3 really separate disciplines. I mean, running and biking. What about swimming? Is that more challenging than the others? I mean, you mentioned you're getting passed at the start. Is that something you have to work on a little bit more?
Oh yeah, like it's swimming is so hard. It's definitely the hardest for me out of the 3. That's kind of why I liked it too, because it wasn't just like running races or like doing bikes and stuff like that. It was kind of 3 different things. So I felt like I wouldn't get sick of one. I could just keep doing 3 things. But swimming is so hard and it takes so long to get better at. It's kind of like, it's a lot like golf. Like it's super technical. And it's not like something that you can work harder, like run more, bike more, and you get better. It's like you have to have like the right form and everything. And yeah, just it was really a struggle the first couple of years of doing that. But it's something now like I enjoy, and like I'm starting to slowly get better at it. So yeah, it's that's kind of why I enjoyed it, I think, is it's because it's something I'm not very good at, and I'm kind of making goals to try and get better.
Well, it's so cool to hear that you're still competing and obviously doing something. I think most of us could only imagine even attempting. Never mind doing it regularly and coming back for more. Bryan, one more just about kind of post hockey. Hockey has been such a big part of your life. Moving forward, your family's growing up. I mean, have you thought more about what is next for you, and specifically about potentially being back involved in hockey in some way?
Yeah, it's something I've thought about, but honestly, I haven't kind of been like in a rush for it. I've just been kind of enjoying, you know, being around my family and my daughter, and doing hobbies that I haven't really got to do before. Um, so yeah, I think maybe eventually I want to get back into it, but like I said, I'm not really in a rush. Like, I'm kind of enjoying being like a fan of it and following the team, and just watching it on TV and stuff. So yeah, like I told someone the other day, they asked me like, oh, how much he's skating, like he plays shinny and stuff, and I think I've had my gear on once in the last like 4 years since I stopped playing. Like, I've been on skates for like holiday skates and family skates like that, but like playing like shinny or something, like I've only had my equipment on once. Like, so it's something like I miss the games, and I miss that part, but I don't miss like, I'm not itching to get out and just go play pickup with buddies.
Well, I can tell you, if you ever thought of getting in, whether it be the coaching, management, scouting, player development, I have a feeling the team right here would love to bring you back in the fold. But bringing you back in the fold is what Sunday is all about. What's it going to be like? Are you going to show up in the morning? You sign the contract? Do they make you do the beep test? You got to do any workouts for them or anything like that?
I hope not. Oh my God. I don't even know what kind of fitness testing they do nowadays. It's probably something crazy. I remember doing the beep test. We used to do it on ice in training camp. And that was a miserable day when you did, 3 hours of physicals and media obligations, and you had to do the beep test on the ice. So no, but it's going to be really special. And it's going to be, something that, I can kind of share with my family and my daughter, and something that we'll always kind of remember. But, um, I'm so thankful, to the organization for doing something like this. I mean, they absolutely didn't have to, but it just shows you, what good people they are, and what kind of organization this is they're, it's like a big family. They treat each other so well.
Listen, I think it's the biggest no-brainer of all time. I mean, the city, the organization, the fans of Winnipeg want to welcome you back and, congratulate you and thank you for everything that you did for this team and the city while you were here. And, of course, wish you the best going forward. Bryan, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. And from a personal level, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here in our city, playing for our team all these years. And can't wait to see you on Sunday afternoon to welcome you back before the Jets take on the Penguins and finish it off the right way with a one-day contract as a Jet forever. Thanks so much for doing this, Bryan. All the best, and we'll see you on the weekend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh man, that was phenomenal. Thanks again so much to Bryan for stopping by. I loved everything in the chat, and I have a feeling we're going to be hearing a lot more of that on Sunday afternoon. Again, 2 p.m. Get there early. Bryan Little will be welcome back to Winnipeg, and I can just tell by everyone's comments in the chat that it's going to be a real special afternoon. By the way, just on that, if you're with us live right now, I've pinned a tweet at the top. If you were kind of on the fence about maybe coming to the game, why don't you join us for the WST section? It's going to get cut off in the next hour, but you still got time to grab some tickets with us. Join us in section 316 for Bryan Little Day and the Jets and Penguins. Link is there. Would love to see you. But even if you've got other seats, you can pop up and join us in section 316 in the bar before the game. But if you're a Jet fan, and certainly one that enjoyed so much of Bryan Little's career, I can't think of anywhere else that you'd want to be on Sunday afternoon than welcoming Bryan back to Winnipeg at Canada Life Center. All right, Conor's still with us. We actually got a funny clip of Mark Scheifele on Amazon, which we're going to get to a little bit later on. But I do want to thank our friends at Princess Auto. Of course, normally we've got all our Bomber reports for Princess Auto. Pretty quiet week for the Bombers as they're on the bye. But the guys are back on the weekend, and then they'll be getting ready for a huge game next week against the Montreal Alouettes, and we'll find out whether the playoff game at Princess Auto Stadium is going to be on November 2nd or preferably November 9th in the West Final. Of course, Princess Auto, headquartered and founded right here in Winnipeg, proud sponsor of the Bombers, and of course, Princess Auto Stadium and Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto has 2 locations in Winnipeg on Panet Road and Portage Avenue West, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Don't forget, you can also shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. And whether it's the 2nd or the 9th, that stadium better be stocked up on Canadian Club, because Bomber fans are going to be ready for that playoff game. And other than touchdowns and big wins, I don't think there's much that Bomber fans like more than the great taste of Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You can pick it up everywhere throughout the stadium. And of course, you can also grab CC and Ginger Ale pre-mixed cocktail at the stadium. You can also find that at your local beer vendor if you're popping in there on a Friday night. Keep your eyes out for that. And the entire Canadian Club and Beam Suntory family spirits are waiting for you on your next trip to your local Manitoba liquor marts. Big cheers to our friends over at Canadian Club. We've got Hacksaw coming up in just a minute. Do want to thank the gang at Wallace & Wallace for their great support of WST. Of course, Wallace & Wallace are the leaders in fencing and overhead doors, the specialists, and they've been doing it since 1946. If your property needs the security and protection of a new fence, they have you covered with vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, wood fences. They've got the right one for you. And if your property or your house needs a new garage door, make sure to talk to Wallace & Wallace, as they have Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors. You can give them a call at 452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also visit them online at wallacefences.com, wallacedoors.com, or pop down to their showroom on Lowson Crescent off of Kenniston. And hey, the seasons are changing, guys. If you're looking into your closet these days going, geez, I need to up my menswear game and do it fast, get on down to F Apparel at 190 Smith Street downtown. F Apparel has the best in custom men's suits, beginning at just $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. If you are getting married or in a wedding party coming up in the future, be sure to talk to the fellas at F at a 15% discount when the boys get the suits at F for the big day. Again, F Apparel's at 190 Smith Street downtown. You can make an appointment for a fitting and find out more online at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right, Conor's coming back in just a minute, but big NFL weekend coming up. Keep your eye out. We'll open up Marbles registration in about 10 minutes, but we can't have a Beer Friday without a visit from our guy, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, who is back at his normal abode. Hacksaw, how was your time up in the Adirondacks where you joined us from last week?
Oh, it was unbelievable. The colors were phenomenal, and that's why I do it the first week of October. But you have to be out of there by October 10th, Hustler, because winter arrives. The day I left, 33 degrees. The day after I left, it snowed. So it was a good time had by all. It's nice to be back in the sunshine here. But, hey, I got to salute you. Your Bryan Little interview was spectacular. And, you and I have been doing sports talk for a long, long time, and we develop relationships and friendships with players and athletes. And in a sense, we privately root for the good guy to do well. But there's also a downside. And when you see a hit and you see a guy go down, you're one play away from the end of your career. And I'm sure that the concussion syndrome that he went through was the difference maker that put him into retirement and set him off on a different thing with his career. And so, we salute the athletes, but it's cool to be around class guys, and then you kind of ache when a guy you like goes down with something significant. So I salute you for the interview. I hope the Winnipeg Jet fans, because I respected the guy, long distance, what he did, and then obviously what happened to him.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a horrible incident when he took that puck in the ear, and I mean, it ended up costing him the rest of his career. And I mean, the great thing is that he's healthy. He's able to do triathlons and all that. But we definitely have missed him on the ice for many years and missed him in the city. And Sunday's going to be a real special day. And I do appreciate that, Hacksaw. Get into the NFL. Like, before we even get to a slate of games with some real beauties this weekend, a busy weekend for some GMs. 2 big wide receiver trades. The worst kept secret in a long time. Davante Adams, probably not really that hurt, more just holding out to get a deal. He's back with his old pal Aaron Rodgers in New York with the Jets, who have been struggling and have already fired their coach. And then the Bills making a move as well to bolster their wide receiving core. What do you think of the moves?
I guess at the forefront of the conversation has to be the dysfunction of what Raider football is. I mean, they've had 2 winning seasons in 21 years. They've gone through a myriad of quarterbacks. They've not kept their free agents. They traded for guys they thought would work out, didn't work out. And Davante Adams is the latest in a long list of guys that showed up and then said, I want out. And he wanted out because he played with 6 different quarterbacks and under 4 different offensive coordinators, not making any progress there. This is good news for the New York Jets. I don't think that the Raiders got fair value to just get a 3rd-round pick. By the way, the Raiders take a $16 million cap hit on the contract. Now, going to New York, Davante Adams is going to join Aaron Rodgers and is going to join Garrett Williams, unbelievable second-year receiver out of Ohio State. They got 2 other receivers. They got a really good running back in Breece Hall. They throw to multiple tight ends. I think the Jets are going to be a force the second half of the season in the AFC because Rodgers still has it as a quarterback, even though he might not have a great offensive line around him. So I think there's a huge step forward for the Jets from a credibility standpoint and from a player personnel standpoint. The Buffalo thing, they needed skilled people to help Josh Allen. And obviously getting Amari Cooper on a half-year rental, that's positive. They didn't give up very much to get him. Cooper's it's a strange situation. When he came out of Alabama, I thought, man, this guy's got the talent ability to maybe be the next Michael Irvin, but it's never happened. And, he's moved all over the place. I mean, he was in Dallas, and then he was with the Raiders, and he was with Cleveland. And, I kept thinking this could be an 85 to 100 catch a season guy. It just hasn't worked out. So he goes to Buffalo. He'll catch some balls. Of course, they have a tight end-driven offense there right now with the Bills. So I think that's a pretty good acquisition. And the third acquisition has not gotten very much play at all. And we're talking about what the Vikings did. They brought back Cam Akers, a running back who had been with the Houston Texans. He had started his career with Minnesota. Tell you what, he goes to that offense that they're running in Minnesota, and Kevin O'Connell really likes him. He's a dart and dash guy. He can run tough. He's got a second gear. The other thing, he can catch balls out of the backfield. And they got him for negligible because it was a numbers game and a salary cap situation with the Houston Texans. I think that's a nice insurance policy acquisition for Minnesota. So it is weird this early. I mean, we're not even November 1st. Trade deadline is half month away, and teams are forfeiting the season. The Raiders are going to be absolutely miserable. Cleveland is absolutely miserable because of injuries and devastation and the denigration of Deshaun Watson as a quarterback. So some people made some deals, I think, way before the trade deadline that are going to help them.
Lee, I'm interested to see what Brett Veach does in Kansas City. I mean, they've lost Hollywood Brown, they've lost Rashee Rice. They're sort of back to where they were last year. There's no way the Raiders were trading Davante Adams in the division to the Chiefs. I think we knew that. I thought they might be on Amari Cooper. I mean, is this going to be? They're just going to pick up MVS, who got cut after they acquired Amari Cooper? Do you think there might be another wide receiver at some point in the next couple of weeks on their way to Arrowhead?
Well, they already added one a couple weeks ago. He's not played very much yet, but he had played pretty well prior in Pittsburgh. J.J. Schuster-Smith. That's the kind of guy, the short-term veteran rental who knows the system. Scantling, maybe he comes back. There's also an underlying rumor out there that Tennessee, which is having a terrible season, might make DeAndre Hopkins available. And Veach, through Andy Reid, they've always made a 1 or 2 player rental sometime at midseason, usually triggered by injuries, and those guys usually work out pretty well. Prime example is what they did 3 weeks ago with the running back, Kareem Hunt. And all he's done is play an integral role running and catching the ball out of the backfield. And he had started his career in Kansas City and got in trouble off the field. They let him go and went to Cleveland, and He played pretty well. Now he's back in Kansas City. Those are the type of moves that Chiefs front office makes. And you and I have chatted in the past. I think Veach is a really underrated general manager. It is weird, though, Kansas City, unbeaten, statistically is not dominating anybody. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're here sitting almost the 1st of November, and Patrick Mahomes has only 6 touchdowns and has thrown 6 interceptions. And they're not dominating anybody statistically because of the injuries at wide receiver, and they're not pounding the football, although they're moving it on the ground. So there'll be at least 1, maybe 2 additions, maybe one of those names that I just mentioned that you inferred to are probably going to show up in Kansas City wearing red within a couple of weeks.
Hacksaw, Tom Brady is never far from the news. He, of course, is now the big Fox guy in the broadcast booth, bumping out Greg Olson. But he's now also a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And maybe some of Brady's success can rub off on the organization. I'm sure fans of the silver and black would love that. What's the significance of this? And does it at all affect his role as a commentator with Fox?
That's a great question. Nobody's talking about it yet, except you and I are going to talk about it. Good topic on the table there, Hustler. Tom Brady comes in as a 10% minority owner. He comes in, though, as a consultant to Mark Davis. And they've already had conversations about what's right and what's wrong with the Raiders operation or, quote, the Raiders roster. I think Brady is going to be a heavy-duty, hands-on consultant to work with the general manager, Tom Telesco, who used to be out here with the San Diego Chargers and then with the LA Chargers. And they're both real intellectual guys. But they got to get players. They got to get players in them to succeed. They've had no quality quarterbacking in a chunk of years there. They let the top running back go to free agency, and Josh Jacobs is doing great things up in Green Bay. And now you trade Devontae Adams, and they got a mess of injuries in their defensive front. So it's just been a really bad season. Second part of your question, about 3 weeks ago, the NFL imposed restrictions on what Brady could do as it relates to being a color analyst on the Fox broadcast. And, normally, because I broadcast NFL football for a long time, you get access to the head coaches, you get access to the players, you get access to private meetings and interview sessions before your big TV telecast. Brady is not allowed to be part of any of that. Now, can he exchange text and emails and ask questions? Yeah. But being in the building and being at practice on Thursday, Friday, or the walkthrough on Saturday has got great value in terms of your insight and what you're learning about what their game plan is and what they're running. He is blocked from any of that because of this Raiders scenario. He's getting paid, quote, supposedly, a big amount of money to be the lead guy. I bet within a year's time, Fox is going to wake up and say, this doesn't work real well. Already there's a lot of critique and criticism that, this dual relationship with him working for an NFL club and being involved there and being banned from being at the practice facility to watch Kansas City or talk to Andy Reid or whomever. I don't think this, in the long term, this is going to work. He's made progress as a color analyst. I've watched a couple of his telecasts. He had a very bad start. He's gotten progressively better. Of course, as Bill Belichick would say, dude, you need reps. He's gotten a lot of reps. He's gotten better. But I bet he winds up doing more and more in the front office operation of the Raiders, which would mean he's probably going to be removed from Fox because he doesn't have normal access that broadcasters want to have or need to have to do a quality job. And living off the name Tom Brady only works for a short period of time.
Hacksaw, just before we get to the games, I did want to ask you, the one real kind of significant rule change this year has been the kickoffs and how different they are. What's the feedback, and are we done tinkering with it?
No. Feedback is no. We're not done tinkering with it. The feedback is no. The commissioner and the rules competition committee is not quite satisfied with what's happened. I understand the rationale. They had to make changes. Maybe there's going to be more changes. I don't know if they're going to impact the punt return, but I think within weeks they're going to do something to restructure the kickoff returns. We went through preseason and coaches were experimenting. How do you do this? How do you handle it? Where do you place the kicks? Of course, nobody could move until the ball is actually returned or touched by the return man. Statistically, through the first 7 weeks of the season, it's been a success. There has been only one concussion through the first 7 weeks of the season on kick returns. One. There have been no ligament or Achilles injuries through 7 weeks. So that's radically better than what we had over all these years because there was such violent head-on collisions and guys flying through the air. So that's good. However, the problem is these coaches, special teams coaches, said, screw this. I'm not going to put the ball in play and run the risk of this guy taking one back. I'll just kick it to the end zone and I'll make you come out to the 30-yard line to start. The NFL is now proposing, it hasn't been voted on yet, they're proposing if you kick it into the end zone, it becomes a touchback. The ball's coming out to 35 rather than the 30, so the field grows a little bit shorter. So we'll wait and see if that happens. I will tell you that through the first 7 weeks, 32% of the kickoffs have been returned in regular season. Last year at this time, through 7 weeks, they had only 19% return. So they're putting some oomph into the kick return game, but the coaches don't necessarily like it. I think they're going to try to do something to put the ball in play and eliminate touchbacks, but allowing an offense to get the ball to 35 if it goes into the end zone. That's a long answer, but that's where we are now. But the bottom line, this injury statistic, that's pretty impressive.
Hey, quick heads up to everyone, chat, getting all fired up for marbles. It's open now. We don't have the normal Streamlabs thing. We're using a Nightbot today. So just, you know what it is, ! marbles. Get in there. We'll do that in about 15 minutes. We're in conversation with the man himself, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. So let's quickly get to the lineup of games this weekend. Some real beauties. I cannot wait. Like the NFC North has been a great division so far this year. And listen, the Bears, I'm still waiting for the Bears to beat someone that has more than one win. But the Packers are looking great. And this Vikings-Lions game is, for me, right at the top of the list, along with the America's Game of the Week Super Bowl rematch between the Chiefs and Niners out there in Santa Clara.
All right, I'll just run through this quickly for you here. You failed to mention the other one, Baltimore-Tampa Bay. Tell me that's not too exciting. I'll just kind of start there. You got a Ravens team that has discovered offense. I mean, what were they known for historically? Run the damn football and beat your brains out with Ravens defense. And what are they doing? They're going up and down the field. Baltimore is averaging 453 yards a game in offense, Hustler. Think about that. The Ravens, 453 yards. Lamar Jackson, the kid wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and Derrick Henry averaging almost 6 yards per carry. I mean, that's a spectacular thing. Now, Baltimore's playing Tampa Bay. And I'll tell you what, looking for personalities becoming cult figures in their own community, Baker Mayfield has reinvented himself as a personality and a pretty good quarterback. He's thrown 15 touchdown passes already for Tampa Bay. So that's going to be a marquee game, Ravens and Buccaneers. You talked about the NFC North. Let's do Green Bay, Houston. You got a Texans team that's averaging 375 yards per game, even though they lost their top receiver, Nico Collins. What's made things different in Houston is the arrival of the Bengals refugee quarterback, Joe Mixon. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry, and he started like a house of fire, twisted an ankle, missed a couple of weeks, has come back and had another 100-yard game. So they're really dangerous on offense, and of course they have a defense that goes and gets after it. Green Bay, Jordan Love, despite the knee injury, Jordan Love and Malik Willis between them have 12 touchdown passes. Josh Jacobs is running the ball, and their wide receivers, there's no sexy names at wide receiver in Green Bay, they're averaging 13 yards per catch. So that Green Bay-Houston game is going to be a doozy. Detroit right now, at lunchtime today in Winnipeg, is not what Detroit has been this past year, years prior. They don't have Aiden Hutchinson. Broken leg, gone for the year. They just lost their starting defensive tackle, major knee injury. He's probably gone indefinitely. So their defense has taken a huge hit. Now, offensively, this is strange to say, Detroit, under Dan Campbell, was known for defense. They're averaging 413 yards a game on offense. I mean, Jared Goff has really grown into something, and they got wide receivers that are doing a good job. Minnesota's Minnesota. You got Darnold's got a 103 quarterback rating. This guy was in the unemployment line 2 or 3 times over the course of his career. He's got a 103 quarterback rating. Kevin O'Connell has done a really good job there. Now, that being said, Vikings play 4 of their next 6 on the road, so maybe they come back to earth a little bit. Kansas City, San Francisco, Chiefs 5-0. But like I said, Mahomes has got 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and they're not quite the offense that they used to be. And in San Francisco, crummy start. Tell you what, Brock Purdy's evolved into a star. I mean, he's just throwing the hell out of the football for them. He's got over 1,600 yards passing already. He's got 9 touchdowns. He's got a quarterback rating of 100, and they're doing that without Christian McCaffrey, whom we don't know when he's going to play again, just because of the conflicting problems he's got both with the Achilles and with his heel and his calf. So Brock Purdy is really carrying San Francisco. So there's some really cool games, as I like to use the term on TV down here that I do, must-see TV. Don't call me, don't text me, don't bother me on Sunday. I'm watching NFL football. We got a bunch of good games on TV this weekend.
Well, the must-read column is that daily at leehacksawhamilton.com, along with the best 15 minutes. You know where to get it, leehacksawhamilton.com. And, of course, check out the YouTube channel as well and subscribe at Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And saw just on the way out, we've got all this football to talk about. I know you'll be hitting the baseball. Dodgers 1 game away from going back to the World Series. And how about that comeback last night by the no longer the Tribe, the Cleveland Guardians? That was some incredible October drama from the ALCS last night.
Yeah, I know your world is all wrapped around Winnipeg Jets, rightfully so, and Blue Bombers. But I'll tell you, this side of the crossing gate on the border, my God, the baseball playoffs, Hustler, have just been unbelievable. Man, we came through an unbelievable San Diego Padres season, and they fell apart in the playoffs. The Dodger pitchers shut them out 24 innings in a row. This was a Dodger pitching staff that was ravaged by injuries. And they right now are hot, and they right now are healthy. And it is amazing what they've done to the New York Mets. 8-0, 9-0, and 10-2 victories. And, of course, they play about an hour from now in New York in what could be the clinching game for the Dodgers. So, yeah, that series has been great. And I will confess, full disclosure, I'm from eastern Long Island. That's where I grew up, outside New York State. I was the only kid I knew that was not a Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, New York Yankee fan. I was a Cleveland Indians fan. Indians, Rocky Colavito, Herb Score, etc. And my Indians, now known as the Guardians. That was some comeback against the Yankees. That place was going crazy. But it only counts as one, and they still got a hole that they got to dig out of. So we'll see if they can make this series even Steven at 2-2 with the Friday night game. But the baseball players have been great. And to top everything else, we got the opening of the NHL season, so I'm a happy camper too.
Bring it on. Hacksaw, thanks so much as always for the time. We'll look forward to checking out the site, and I look forward to having you back next week. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, invite everybody from I call them the O Canada Network, because when they're done on your show, you forward them on to my podcast. But, subscribe to my podcast, and if you're on X, on Twitter, I want you to join my Twitter all-star team. Just hit follow at Hacksaw 1090. So we got it covered. South of the border, like you got it covered there. And again, congrats on the interview with Bryan Little. Hustle, talk to you next Friday.
Hacksaw. Great stuff.
Okay,
there it is. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, one of our faves. It's just not a Friday without Hacksaw and without a marble race. We'll give you another minute or two if you just popped in late. Exclamation mark marbles in the chat. Let's bring in our pal Conor Hrabchak back in. And, of course, we had Hacksaw on. Really appreciated the kind words. I mean, I know you were watching that. I had obviously was talking to Bryan in it, but so cool to see the memories and all of the well wishes to Bryan in the chat. And honestly, that will go down. Had the privilege of talking to a lot of people, covering a lot of people. That one is one of my favorites. And I'm even more excited for Sunday after sharing that conversation with all of our listeners here on WST.
Yeah, Huss, I've got to give you credit. That was a fantastic interview. It's great to see him doing well with the triathlon stuff and with his daughter and how excited he is for this game. And then to top it all off, all the stories that he mentioned of, the first preseason game and playing against the Ducks and how that helped them in the long run. And how he still keeps in touch with Ladd and Wheeler and those guys and all the stories. That was an awesome interview. And it was great to see him in good health and in good spirits ahead of Sunday's game. I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, listen, while we just wrap up Marbles registration, we are going to get to the Cool Bet lines. But just before we do the Cool Bet lines, I know, were you watching some of the Amazon Prime rip around last night with our own Mark Scheifele jumping in?
I was tuned in for part of it, saw some clips online. It's fun, and I'm excited to show this clip here.
Yeah, listen, folks. So on the new Amazon Rip Around Thursday night, the guest last night, along with the analyst, was none other than Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets, and this is just vintage Scheif. Check it out. This is from last night's Amazon broadcast, where he's in the middle of a question, and like many, got distracted by a nice play on the ice. Here's Mark Scheifele.
First of all, I don't trust my music sense enough that guys aren't going to chirp me, but also at the same time, sorry, I'm watching the hockey. That was a nice pass, and Cooch score. Sorry.
No, you're supposed to get distracted. You're supposed to see that and comment on. I love that we're getting goals while we have you on.
I know, literally, I was mid-thought, and I was like, I think that's Cooch on a 2-on-1.
Over the ball. I just laughed when I saw that, and listen, he is what he is. He is a self-described hockey nerd. Probably watches as much of it as anybody here or in the chat, and distracted. And it was great timing. It was a hell of a 2-on-1 goal while he was there talking about his musical sensibilities in the locker room.
That just reminds me of Thanksgiving dinner last weekend when I'm talking to someone and then I'm just like, hold on. It's just drifting away watching the hockey. That's just what everyone It's like you're mid conversation and you just drift off because you're watching a Jets game or whatever. But yeah, it's hilarious. And he had some other good bits as well, saying how he loved watching the coast to coast because it's like red zone, but for hockey. I was able to tune in for a little bit last night and they do a really great job. It's on Prime Video, but it is like red zone for hockey. And when the Jets aren't playing and you're not, locked into watching one team, it's really nice to have that the channel kind of just change for you and be able to follow all the games at once. Because you just kind of want the umbrella of everything that's happening, except for when obviously the Jets are on and then you're watching that one team.
Well, and the Jets are going to be front and center right here in Winnipeg a week Monday against the Toronto Maple Leafs with their first appearance on the Amazon Monday. And I am pumped. I mean, Remus is a big Amazon guy. He kind of got me into, I don't really subscribe to any of the other things, but I did get a Prime membership a while ago. So I was pumped that, okay, great. This is already accessible to me. But the fact they put together a really good crew panel, and they're going to be coming, and they're not half-assing it. They're going to be here in Winnipeg for the game. So hopefully we'll show it well, though we know there'll be a lot of Leaf fans in the building as often happens. All right. So listen, we'll let Andrew close up the marbles. We'll get to that in just a couple minutes, but let's get over to the Cool Bet lines. And only 3 games tonight in the National Hockey League. The Canes are in Pittsburgh. Carolina, -169 favorite. Pittsburgh +143. The Jets are a massive -380 favorite tonight. Sharks +305, and the Anaheim Ducks +215, and the Colorado Avalanche -258. Now, if you go over to the exclusives at the bottom, check out the WST parlay. I'm calling a big night for line 1 and for the Jets. We've got the Jets on the puck line to win by 2. Kyle Conor, 2 or more points. Mark Scheifele, 2 or more points. That one's in at +650. We're 1-0 on the season for the WST parlay after the big win in Edmonton. So we're going back at it tonight. Big game for the fellas on Conor Hellebuyck night. Scheifele and Conor, each 2 points. Jets by 2, +650. Now, the NFL lines, we won't go through all of them, but of those key games that we just talked about with Hacksaw, the Packers are 3-point favorites at home against the Texans. The Vikings are 1.5-point favorites at home against the Detroit Lions. Love the Commanders this week. Oh, wow. This is already up to 9 right now. People aren't holding off on that. And then, of course, this Chiefs-Niner game. Conor, we got a big one. We got a big one Sunday afternoon. I know we'll be kind of paying a little attention in the third period. We'd love the Jets to be able to run away with the game on Sunday. Maybe that's asking too much to focus in on this one. But Niners, -1.5-point favorites, -120 to win, and Chiefs +102 on the line. We may have to make a little side wager at some point on this one. But we all know what Andy Reid and his teams do coming out of the bye. They didn't get the Chiefs at a great time, I would say. But hey, it should be a hell of a matchup. All the lines are there right now. And if you go right on the front page, the combo cards. What do we have tonight for our partner parlay? We've got a Malkin assist, a Gabe Vilardi point, and over 6.5 in the Avalanche Ducks game. That's to plus 512. And then we've also got a bunch of other NFL bets. Our partner parlay, though, New England plus 6.5 against the Jags in London. Commanders minus 7.5. And the Chiefs plus 1.5. That is boosted to plus 594. It's all there at coolbet.com. If you haven't played a cool bet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. All right. We are just about ready to get into the marble race. Conor, I know Remus isn't away, but we're very, very fortunate that our pal Andrew is going to be able to make it happen. And now I don't know whether we probably don't have our music today, Tristan Rivers music. I doubt. But
you want to do an impression?
Yeah, just it's Friday. No.
There you go.
We probably could sing the whole song. You certainly know the words. But let's fire this up. A little marbles action. It looks like we've got 200. And Andrew, if you want to turn your mic on, you can get in on that and fill us in on that. And of course, where we are going. We've had a couple great tracks as of late, but I think we're going to roll with the funnel today.
As we see, we got 267.
Woo! A good crew. Now, everyone, first of all, bit of housekeeping. Huge thanks to our friends at Shipment Associates. The hoodies are being printed and on the way. We will have those on October 29th. So we have a delivery date. If you've won in the past few weeks and we haven't been able to get you, hang tight. We'll have a pickup location for everyone that's done. For those of you that have not yet won, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Press subscribe and please hit that thumbs up button. Let's at least get, as many thumbs ups as we have marbles. And anyways, I think a thumbs up just for Bryan Little would be appropriate as well. So do that. We got 267 racers today. We are going to the funnel. I think it's about time to do it. A little Friday marble race, even without Remus. Shout out to Andrew for making this happen. We are going to the funnel today. The winner gets an exclusive WST hoodie, courtesy of our friends at Shipment Associates. And the marbles are on their way into the big funnel. Here we go. Conor, are you in here on this?
No. I'm not.
You didn't register. Jeez. I do.
No.
I do believe I'm in Hustler with all caps. Loving it right now. And we've got Coachy T. Will is in the mix. This is always a great intro because with so many marbles, the start is definitely important. And look, it's Markham Fanasuk coming out with a very, very slight lead. I see Brass Bonanza is in there as well. Todd Fertani's in the mix. What's up, Todd? And the big crew. Now, as you'll see, this track is quite extensive. Who will be first? Some great camera work by Andrew. The normal maestro of the marbles, Michael Remus, away for a few days, but he will be back next Friday. In fact, I'll be away next Friday. He will be back. He and Conor will be doing their thing. So we got Mark, we've got Brass Bonanza, Jeremy Nickerson, Kenny's water bottle right in the mix, Todd Fertani in and around. And now, as you remember, we'll be coming through this next obstacle. We'll see if anyone gets caught up. No, not really. And now the double funnel, the small funnel, and then a big funnel. And we'll see whether anyone can make some moves and make a big move into it. But it seems like Mark's now into the bottom funnel. KF is there. See Russ Lowen in the mix. And here we go. We've got a pretty good look at everyone that is coming down. Who's going to get through first here and start running down into this next loop? Jerry Beluda in the lead right now. Keith B. Do we have two Keiths there? Keith B and Keith S? Look at this. Well, we got it. Jerry Beluda Yeah, let's get right down to the end. We'll have a good idea about who's coming in first. Jerry Beluta in the lead right now. Keith S. I think we have two Keiths on the other side. Oh, no, Ken B. Keith S. But Jerry Beluta's in first. Will it be? Yes, it will. Jerry, our winner today. A great selection. I see Greg M's in there, James, Rick Benson, Mark Fanasuku had the great start, finishes 8th. Number 9 is D. Michaluk and Boring C as well. Now, listen, we're going to let all of the marbles come in. Pretty and Pionk right now coming in. There's Mark Sports Video, a few others. We'll see if anybody gets burned by the fire, if they're just taking too long. Farmer Brain popping in. There's Devin Ramsey. Did I see? Is that Weeb's World in the back? Let's see. Devin Ramsey, Jordan. Oh, Wilf's World. Wilf and Jordan kind of taking their Jacob Fontaine and Wilf's World, taking a nice leisurely cruise down through the funnel to finish up today's action. Now, I know some of us have side bets on our placement right now. There you have it. Andrew, if you can, throw on click on final results there. And then let's just do a quick rundown. So Jerry Beluta's our winner. Jerry, congratulations. We got Ken B. And by the way, Jerry, send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let us know your size. And again, October 29th is when we'll have those. So a couple days later, we'll set up pickup for everybody. Get it on Greg. Oh, the dream. My pal James Stevenson, 6th place. Very nicely done. There's Mark A. Boring Sean Monahan in 10th. We can just keep on rolling down. Oh, Tyson Ducharme with a nice one. Northside Sandwich. Shout out to the ESTers. Oh, Ross Ransby. Roscoe, 21st. Nice one today. Winnipeg Sports Talk in at 47th. Probably was Conor. Maybe we'll give that to Andrew because I do have my own today. There's Wicked John. 18 Over Par Podcast. What's up? I don't know whether that's Mike or JR, but shout out to both of you. We see Tony Pop. There's Farmer Jane. Mary Jane, I should say. My guy Bravo Bry. There's Brant Batters. There's Bozeman at 119. I think you may have got me today, buddy. Let's see. There's Manny Fran and Michael Sofer, former trivia legend at the ENC. Mike Wynn. I know we'll see Mike at the game on Sunday. Looking forward to that. Maybe even tonight. Turd Ferguson. There's Alana Sutton. Bob McCullough. Our buddy Sam Crow. Sam Crow, have a great weekend, man. Tristan Rivers Music. T. Kona Pauly. There's All Caps Kyle. And All Caps Hustler, man. 244. Not my best performance in the funnel today. As we keep rolling down, there's Pretty and Pionk, Farmer Brain, and then just a few that weren't able to make it through the finish before getting cut off, including Hockey Mom. What's up, Hockey Mom? Gang, what a great weekend. Last call for WST tickets with us on Sunday. And I think they said 3:30 they were cutting it off. So if you're with us right now, you want to come help with us, celebrate Bryan Little, Jets Penguins in the afternoon. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. It's winnipegjets.com/WST. Would love to see you there. And if you are going to the game, whether you're with our group or just already have tickets or a package holder or seasons, pop by the bar outside section 316 on the upper bowl. We'll be there for a 1 p.m. when the doors open to the general public, hanging out, having a couple, and getting ready to welcome Bryan Little back to the city and back to the arena. Great stuff today. Shout out to Andrew for doing such a good job. And Conor, this is going to be fun. I mean, I'm now really thinking a lot about this Chiefs-Niner game after doing the cool bet lines, but the big opportunity tonight for the Winnipeg Jets to hopefully keep this rolling, get to 4-0, and set up a great opportunity to finish up this homestand against the Pittsburgh Penguins on a real special afternoon before the team hits the road. And now, I know we said, oh, geez, boring week. There's been no games. It's every second day for basically the next 3 weeks for the Winnipeg Jets. So we won't have to wait like we did for the last 4 days.
Yeah, they don't have a break this long until I think winter break, like the Christmas break, where it's like December 23rd to the 28th. They're going to play either every other night or they'll have 2 days off, maybe once or twice until then. So there's a lot of Winnipeg Jets hockey. And we spent a lot of time, rightfully so, talking about the off-ice stuff, the promos, Hellebuyck and Bryan Little over these 2 games. But yeah, like you said, they have a big opportunity to bank some early season points here against 2 teams that are projected to finish outside the playoff line. So you want to see them generate more offense. I'm super excited for Conor Hellebuyck night, the Bryan Little ceremony. I'm even more hyped up for it now after that interview. And yeah, Chiefs Niners, I haven't even thought about it all week because it's at the same time as the Bryan Little game. So
you don't want to think about what's to come. The Grim Reaper wearing number 15 rolling into Santa Clara, coming for your ass.
It's an absolute joke that the Niners are favorites. No one should have any faith in the 49ers to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. None. I don't even
doing the reverse jinx right now. I've seen this before. Hey, listen, in addition to the games, I'm also fired up for WST Sunday Live, 9 a.m. with my guy Conor, as well as Liz and Jacob Stoller. I imagine, it goes without saying, you'll be talking about tonight's game, getting ready for Sunday afternoon. And listen, it has been so much fun watching you guys kind of get this going right now. Folks, set your alarm, set a weekly reminder, 9 a.m. Ding, Sunday morning, grab a coffee, join Conor, Liz, and Jacob. And I know you guys will be getting ready to go. This will be one of the more fun shows as well, especially with it in all intents and purposes, acting as almost a pseudo pregame as well as we get ready for an afternoon game on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. Obviously, we'll probably lead the show with kind of our immediate takeaways from the game tonight and the Conor Hellebuyck night and all the stuff that happens with that. And then, of course, we're going to shift the conversation into Bryan Little, his history with the Winnipeg Jets, the game that day against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and all the things that'll be happening pregame. Last week, we ranked our favorite goal songs, which was really fun. So we have a lot of fun on this show, and I'm excited to kind of have our takeaways from this Friday game, but even more so preview the super special day that will be Sunday afternoon when Bryan Little retires as a Winnipeg Jet.
I'm still outraged and offended that you and Liz were anti the Boom song. You get a Doom, in fact,
They played it in-house at the first whistle, which means
they were listening to the show. Believe me, there's been some lobbying. Anyways, today has been a real fun show. It gets 5 booms, I would say. Anyways, shout out to Andrew.
Wrap it.
Great stuff behind the scenes, making things happen. We will have the Bryan Little interview in its entirety on the YouTube channel as a featured interview, probably over the course of the weekend. But if you popped in late for marbles and didn't get a chance, make sure to check it out. It was just an awesome conversation with someone that is so beloved in this city, and we'll get a chance to welcome him back on Sunday. Conor, great stuff. Thanks so much. And I'll look forward to Monday's show, because not only will we have all of this hockey to talk about, but someone is going to be, having to eat it a little bit after the game. But Niners, we'll focus on the hockey, and then we'll get to our civil war of our 2 NFL teams on Monday as well. But again, gang, Sunday morning, 9 a.m., Conor, Liz, Jacob, don't miss that, WST Sunday Live. And Monday morning, when you're getting ready to head to work or fire it up, Conor's also been killing it with the WST Weekend Review. And, of course, we'll have lots on this weekend from the Winnipeg Jets on that. Thanks again to all the sponsors that make Winnipeg Sports Talk happen each and every day. A huge thank you to Bryan Little for joining us today. Norva Riddell, Hacksaw, great stuff from Conor. And, of course, Andrew Z doing yeoman's work behind the scenes while Remus is away for a few days. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you tonight at the rink for Hellebuyck night, Sunday afternoon. Looking forward to seeing you WSTers in 316. Have a great weekend, and join us again Monday for another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily live at 1. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.